What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Bartender Hideout. Today I wanted to give you a completely different video than what I normally do, because as bartenders do, we kind of tend to linger on in shops where they have a lot of spirits at sometimes, and this is what I came across. This is a Glenmorangie tasting kit or tasting set, which has 4 different kinds of whiskey, and I figured it would be a good idea to have a look at them and see what I think about them, especially since I'm not a very big whiskey. I don't have a lot of whiskey knowledge, so that's one of the things. And another thing is that because of that reason, I actually figured it would be nice to bring along a friend. So that's what I did, and I'd like to introduce you guys to Jan, who is partly my cameraman and partly my semi-professional alcoholic, who is going to be helping me today with tasting these ones and seeing what we can figure out about all of these whiskeys. As I said, we have 4 different kinds of whiskey here. So we're gonna start off with a 10-year-old Scotch. Well, they're all single malt Scotches. But we're gonna start off with a 10-year-old, then a 12-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a Sauterne. Yes, perfect. And a Sauterne, or at least a whiskey that's been aged on Sauterne casks, which is a white wine. But yeah, as I said, we are both really flavor enthusiasts in that way. We like our spirits, but we're not big on the whiskey knowledge. So please bear with us. We're just trying to learn a little bit more and hope that we can educate you guys as well, as we are educating ourselves. Yeah, I think it's about time that we get cracking with all of these beautiful drinks here.
If you have any comments on what we are saying, what we are doing, please let us know below, because we are very interested as well as we hope you are.
Yes, we try to learn as much as we can. I think that's one of the reasons why we are trying out this video, to see if you guys like this, and we just want to learn some more about whiskeys. Yeah, but I think it's time that we stop the chatting and start tasting our whiskeys.
Let's crack open the first one.
Yes, let's do that. So here I have a Glenmorangie 10 years old. This is more or less like the classic. I believe this hasn't been aged on any special barrels. So this is just a 10-year-old whiskey.
Yeah, just the basic oak bourbon casks in which they finish all their scotches.
Yeah, so that is just your classic, I wouldn't say run-of-the-mill single malt, but it is...
It's quite a premium single malt, but still It adheres to the basics.
Yeah, so I'd say we'll have a little bit of that and see what we can make of that. And
I'm actually very looking forward to this, because I've had quite a lot of single malts in my time, but this one I haven't come across yet.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what the basic is, and especially if the basic is good, which I truly expect, how much better the next ones will be. That's what I'm looking forward to.
So we will be looking at mainly at 4 different criteria.
Yes.
Which you are more familiar with, so I'll let you explain those. Okay,
so the basics that we're gonna try to look into is the color, the smell, the flavor, and of course how well it's balanced between those flavors, between the smell and the flavor as well, because there can be quite a dissonance which you don't want in any good spirit or any good drink. So let's start off with this one. It has a nice amber colored start.
Yep.
It's not too deep, but you still have the wood in it and the burn of it as well.
I'd say this is very close to like your
regular run-of-the-mill scotch.
Yeah, exactly. Like your normal whiskey is close to this color as well.
Yes.
I think it's pretty much the same for the flavor.
And the smell, I'm getting some orange zest as well. Some orange peel.
Yeah. I think this is this is pretty close to a run-of-the-mill.
Yeah, but okay, yeah. But in the smell, it's immediately better than, let's say, a basic red label, which you can get on every corner.
Yeah, I'm not saying this is like a Jack Daniels, or which is obviously not a single malt, but like one of those whiskeys that you get, like a Johnny Walker Red Label or anything like that. This is obviously an upgrade. We're already going from a baseline that's better than your normal.
True. Yeah. So actually, when I had a taste as well, and that lemon zest is really coming back into the flavor. It has a freshness. It has a lightness to it.
Oh yeah.
Which I do enjoy.
I think it's I know how I was saying, like it's more like your run of the mill whiskeys. But for me, this is definitely a different sensation than most whiskeys. It has a little bit of that. I guess this is the woodiness or a little bit of nuttiness in the front.
Yeah.
Where you can really, like, it's almost like it's drying out your tongue, but it really isn't.
Mm. No, it keeps it moist, it keeps it flavorful, it keeps it fresh. Which, if we're talking about spirits, and I'm more of a wine guy, so I try to relate to that as well. It would mean that there's a lot of acids in it, which could come from the grapes actually used in the grains actually used in this Scotch.
Yeah, so this is, I believe as well, because we're not going to be looking at the tasting notes that come with Glenmorangie too much. We want to make a decision based on what we're tasting here, what we're smelling, what we're seeing, and then I'll put some of the tasting notes that Glenmorangie has for these drinks. I'll put them on the screen somewhere so you guys can have a feeling for what we're saying, if it's complete bull or not.
If it's somewhat matches what they think.
Yeah, exactly. But I think this is I really personally I think it's really nice, and I'm really starting to become a whiskey lover. If you asked me 5 years ago, I wouldn't go near it, but now it's it's way more of a thing for me, that I'm trying to find out more stuff about whiskeys, and I'm trying to learn a little bit.
Which is what we're noticing in your preference for cocktails as well. Yeah, on this channel.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going more for the whiskey sours and everything, whiskey, penicillins, stuff like that. Stuff you can see on the cocktail card now, by the way, if you want to.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Pop in and have a look over there. But yeah, this is new territory for me, but also.
Yeah, I must agree. You're more of a whiskey-based drink guy than a whiskey drink guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't normally drink neat whiskey as much as I've been doing now lately. So, but I think that's a good transition to have, because then that opens up a whole new world for me. But yeah, so if we're looking at the 4 criteria that you gave,
so we're gonna go for in the base we have a color, and the color is, well, let's say it's a base.
Yeah.
It's medium all around.
Yeah.
Let's say so. Which is not a bad thing, because if you want a good Scotch, you're going to want a good Scotch.
Yeah.
And you're not going to want something extremely special just to start with.
True.
So this is a good baseline. It has a lot of flavor, actually. When you buy a random Scotch, not too expensive, you're going to find, okay, it tastes like Scotch. Period. And this actually has a lot of flavors in it as well. A lot of distinct flavors. Yeah. Which I find.
This is really, really, as you said, it's pretty distinct. But I think as well, if we're looking over the course of these 4 different whiskeys, I think this would be a good baseline anyway.
Yes, of course.
Because obviously, while they were making this kit, they were thinking about it as well, and they're not going to give you completely out of whack whiskeys that don't pair together that great. So I think that's why we're following this line as well, to make sure that we follow along with the tasting kit, and we're trying to figure out on our way to see how we're doing.
Yeah. So what we're going to try to find out today is, because they made the next 3 whiskeys are made with distinct cask finishes.
Yes.
All different. We're going to get into it a bit later. In a bit. But I'm just thinking right now, if this is the baseline, and they use this to mature even further with extra added flavors, it's going to be good.
Yes. Yes, I know. I mean, I know you are excited for the last one.
I'm excited for each.
as of course he's excited for each one of them, but as Jan just mentioned, he's more of a wine guy, and since the last whiskey is aged on wine barrels, that's definitely one that's piqued his interest. But
for sure,
obviously we're keeping that one for the last little bit. So for now,
let's put this aside.
Yes, let's put this aside. I think this is a good baseline, and I think we should start tasting our 12-year, I believe it is.
Before we're going to go there,
yes,
maybe it's a good time to cleanse our palates.
Yes.
With a bit of water.
Yep.
So we're going to want to try each one on its own, as well as comparing it to, of course, the rest of the lineup. But to taste in a good way, or at least to taste as fresh and as cleanly as possible, you're going to want to clean your palate. So you're going to want to clean your tongue, have some sip of water. Maybe if you have it, just a bit of white bread, because it really takes away all the flavor of your tongue. And make sure you have a clean and a fresh palate to start tasting whatever it is you're tasting next.
Yep. What did it say, guys? Does this guy know his flavors or not?
I love me some flavor.
So once we're done that, we really want to move on to the next
in line.
Next in line, which is the 12-year-old.
With a sherry cask finish.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yep, and you can definitely, I already see by the color, once I'm pouring this, that there's a distinct difference between the two. And it's way more like amber colored, which would make sense for a sherry cask, I guess, right?
Yeah, in a way. I'm gonna go out on a leap here, and even though I'm not sure, but I'm gonna guess this is oaked on a something rather of an older sherry. So maybe a PX sherry or at least a dark sherry, because you have a few light and fresh sherries. But by the nose as well, I'm immediately getting that sweetness, that raisin, that the really dark, the Pedro Jimenez sherries. I'm gonna guess that this one is oaked on a barrel which had that in it before.
Yeah. But like I already, in the meantime, I don't know if you guys were noticing, but I already had a sip. I think this is. I think for me personally, the smell of it is not completely different. I see what you mean, but like for me, I don't know. I don't smell too much of a difference, but the taste is really it feels like it's a lot more balanced. Like the flavors round out a little bit nicer, and yeah, just for me it feels a little bit nicer, which obviously makes sense because this has been aged two more years, has seen 2 more years of attention, which really helps as well, obviously. But for me, this is quite nice.
On the flavor, I'm definitely gonna agree with you.
Yeah.
On the smell, though, I would try to challenge you and smell the previous one next to it.
Yeah.
Because I think this has maybe even a bit of cherry, maybe some.
Yeah, I know, like.
It has a lot more depth, a lot more full and round flavors.
No, you're right.
In the smell.
I think once I'm comparing them now, like I can really see the sherry and the cherry.
Yeah.
It's a little bit sweeter mainly.
Yeah.
Like I feel the smell is a bit sweeter.
So more ripe fruits.
Yes. Yeah.
In the first one we had the orange zest, of course, and in this one it's really fully matured. Maybe even strawberries, cherries, raspberry, red fruits. Maybe a bit of plum.
I must say I do really like this one.
Yeah, me as well.
Like for me, already only tasting 50% of this kit, I'd say it's probably worth it to get one of these boxes for yourself.
Oh yeah.
Or just like a full-size bottle. Obviously, that's why these tasting kits are out here, or are out there for it.
One.
They're obviously there, so people end up buying the whole bottles. Which I mean, it makes sense. Like I'd definitely be for either one of those. I'd be happy to drink that on the side on like a nice game night or whatever, and then having a little sip on alongside. But I think if we compare this to the baseline, is that 2 years, does that really make a difference?
Well. Yes.
Or the casks, for that matter.
The difference is there, definitely. But I must say, I think the drinkability, if that's a word, of the first one, it's easier to get down.
Okay.
This one is, in a way, so much more special and so much more complex that it takes a lot more work to get each sip into your system, worked out, and then again out of your system.
Yeah, because it's a more complex taste.
Yeah.
You want to savor it a little bit more and like take your time. But obviously that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Oh, no,
but it just depends on what you're looking for.
Your preference,
Yeah, exactly.
This is already, and it's the second in this kit, but this is the Scotch you want to enjoy with people who know a bit about Scotch.
Yeah.
You're not going to serve this to any idiot who knocks on your door.
No, true. And I think that's the whole thing. As you guys know, I work in a cocktail bar. I got a lot of people coming by and go like, hey, I want to have a nice Scotch, or I want to have a nice whiskey for that matter. What should I have? And my first question always is, okay, so how familiar are you with whiskeys? Because that makes a big difference. If you never really had whiskeys and you just want to try something new, I always recommend going for Irish whiskeys or Japanese whiskeys. They're really getting really popular at the moment. They're pretty close to being a little bit softer.
Yeah.
I mean, the Irish whiskey Scotch, they're a little bit harsher. I think Scotch is the last thing you want to try once you really rounded your palate to a couple of whiskeys. I think you can even go bourbons. Those are the most baseline. They are a little bit sweeter since they're made with corn, obviously. So I think if you really want to start off with whiskeys, go that way and then slowly move your way up to Scotch. But I think Scotch is something I really started appreciating in the last half a year, 6 months, 7 months. And if you would have given me this a year ago, I'd be like, nah, sorry. But you really have to round out your palate and get used to the flavor and really trying to find those flavors in there. And I think they really did a good job within Scotches, within whiskies in general. That makes it a really interesting product as well.
I'm going to agree with you on the Japanese side as well, because of course, Japanese whiskies have been around for quite some time.
Yes.
But lately they've really been developing into more of a quality and more of a maybe European easy to drink product.
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily a good thing, but they have found a way to make it work. Yeah. I've run across a few brilliant whiskies. I'm not going to name any names, of course, because they ain't paying us. Not yet. But still, there are some good ones out there. Yeah. You just got to find them.
Yeah, and I think with Japanese whiskies, it's something that's really kind of come into vogue a little bit more in the last... I mean, I haven't really heard about Japanese whiskies in the last year, 2 years. It wasn't really a thing. And I think in the last 6 months to a year, it's been coming to the radar, and people are like, oh, okay, so this is just as good as Irish whiskey, Scotch whiskies, whatever. So it's really, it's taking... I wouldn't say it's taking the market by storm, but it's starting to get out there.
Definitely.
And I think that's a good thing, because the more competition there is on the market, the better the product has to be, right?
For sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say that's enough talking about number 2. You want to get going with number 3?
Yes, please.
Okay. So what do we got here?
It's a 14-year-old Scotch.
Yep.
Which has been finished on port casks.
Okay.
Port, again, a wine-based, well, not really a spirit, but a wine-based drink from Portugal.
Okay.
South of Europe, for those in America. It's a wine-based drink which is sweetened by adding a wine spirit to a wine, basically. Yeah. Which makes sure it has a lot more sweet notes. It has a lot more alcohol as well. And... which makes for a very matured and a very full-bodied flavor. Yeah. At least it should.
Which I think we can see in the color as well. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how well this is going to transfer to you guys at home. But this is definitely a little bit darker than the one we had before.
Exactly.
And I think that obviously comes from the port kegs or the casks, which really help in that way. And I mean, I think it obviously makes a difference as well if it was red port or white port.
For sure.
But yeah, I think...
This is a red port.
Yeah, this is probably by looks of the color, it's probably the red port.
Indeed, if we're going to compare these three, And I know I said amber at first for the first drink, but compared to this one, that's nearly yellow.
Yeah.
And the middle one is golden, and this one we're nearing a red color.
Yeah. I'd say this is probably more amber.
This
Out of the
amber.
three, this is probably the most amber one.
This is the amber.
And I mean, only judging already by this bottle, this is the most amber we're gonna get.
Yeah, this is the darkest we have.
Yeah.
So I'm getting definitely grape in the smell.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe just purely wine. Just the smell of wine. Or a red wine. Which would suggest to me this is a ruby port and not a tawny port for the cask. But hey, I don't know. I'm just guessing.
I mean, like as I said, he's more of the wine expert, so I'm just gonna say yes to everything he says about wines. That's just what I tend to do. But yeah, I think this has, if you're talking about complex flavors, I think yes, 2 has some complex flavors, but this one is definitely topping that one. I'd say all over, you just keep getting new flavors. Like you think you have all of the flavors, and then you get a new one, which is really interesting. Like it's pretty good.
But I wanted to start my sentence with but it's wrong.
You still started it with but.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't matter. A glass of this will last you half an hour.
Normally.
If you are enjoying it.
Yes. I agree. Yeah.
Because...
Or it should at least.
Yeah. Every single sip will take you, nearly 5 minutes to completely appreciate.
Yeah.
Because I just had a sip, let's say 1 minute ago, and I'm still experiencing new flavors and new ways and new sides to this one single sip.
Yeah.
After a while there comes caramel, there comes honey, there comes nutty flavors even maybe a bit. It starts quite fresh actually, I think. In the smell there is honey as well, or caramel, or whichever you refer to.
I mean, I guess if you compare it to our baseline, right? It's just it's such a world apart.
Yeah.
And I mean, you'd say this is 10 years. Only 4 years apart already makes a super big difference, and obviously they age this on a different cask, so that is going to make a difference all around. But I think those 4 extra years, obviously you pay for it, but also
worth it.
It's definitely, in this case, it's definitely worth it.
But I wonder, and maybe you don't know the answer. I definitely don't. Do you think they started all of these scotches with the baseline and then let it mature 2 years on the sherry, 4 years on the port, and then some years on the last one? Or do you think they made it a 10-year, a 12-year, and then the finish, and a 14-year, and then the finish?
I'm honestly, I'm not sure. I haven't really looked into that. Maybe like people that are watching this could actually fill us in on that. But
yes, please do.
I'd say normally, I don't know. I personally don't know how long it takes for a spirit to take on the flavor of a barrel. So if it takes it on in like say 2 years and you get the full complexity of what you're aging it on, then I'd say they just use it in the last couple of years to finish it off. But I can
give some backstory on that because I know a bit about cask aging. At least for the wines, I must say. These are all reused barrels. So a spirit has previously aged on those barrels before this drink has gone into it. Yep. And I know that with barrels, they have about 2 years of being called a new barrel.
Okay.
Which means in those 2 years, they give off the first flavors of vanilla. They give off flavors of the wood. And after that, they're going to just be used to soften the drink, and they're going to be used to round out the tannins and the bitterness of some drinks.
Yeah.
I believe with these kind of agings, they mostly using old casks.
Yeah.
So they use casks in which over, let's say, 15 years, there has been the same drink in it over and over and over again. So it releases the flavor of the drink more than the flavor of the wood.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, but again, like we obviously aren't experts on this topic, so
Definitely not.
If there's people watching here that know a lot more about whiskey, definitely let us know, because as I say, we're doing this as well to learn for ourselves as to try to learn you guys something, or to try to teach you guys something, because obviously we're not complete idiots when it comes to whiskey, like with spirits in that general direction. Like we know a little bit about flavors, but obviously trying to learn at all times.
We know our drink, but if you can educate us, please do, because that way we can re-educate you, or maybe spread the education among the people on YouTube.
And otherwise, if we learn something after this video, then that's always a plus, I guess.
It's a win-win.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh.
Yeah, I think we need to set this aside, and then once this video is done, we're going to just be sipping on this for a little while. And
be sure, none of this is going to be wasted.
None of this is going to go to waste. We're making sure all of this is getting properly finished.
I'm so not ready to put this aside, though.
I know, but I think you're going to have to. Because, once you put this aside, we're going to go on to your favorite one. So I'm going to let you...
It's still to be determined.
Oh, well, like the one that you were looking forward to the most.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Such a waste of washing the flavor away with the water, but still.
Yeah, but you still have some for later. So it should be all right.
Delicious. So, for those of you not knowing what a Sauterne is a white wine from Bordeaux in France, from a small piece of the Bordeaux in France, and they have been making sweet white wines, or dessert wines to be precise, for hundreds of years. They make wines which can age very long as well, so they have to have a good balance of acidity and of tannins. They have to have a good balance of sweetness against the sourness, and they have been perfecting that craft for, I'm going to guess, about 400 years, so they know what they're doing. And this Scotch has been aging, or has been finished on casks of that making. And, well, I'm a lover of Sauterne. I love my red wines, I love my white wines, and I do have a sweet tooth. So I love my dessert wines as well. And I must say, Sauterne, they make very good wines. They make a few shit wines as well, but they make very good wines on the whole.
In general.
So I'm really looking forward to this. For the color, we're actually seeing a lot less redness than the previous one, of course.
I think it's very close to the 10-year one.
Yeah, but it has a bit more yellow for me.
That's true. But
I know that's not a color we can use in drinks, but a bit more yellow. Yeah. Golden more, maybe.
No, that's true. Like I already had a sip of this, and I think I have a good idea of what you're gonna be experiencing with this one. I think you'll enjoy this one.
I'm first amazed by the smell, though.
Yes,
it has.
Smell is really nice.
Apricot.
Yeah, like stone fruit at least.
Yeah.
Right, like apricot, like peach. You definitely I think those are the two most outstanding ones that you really go like, oh, okay, I smell that one.
I don't know if nectarine is the English word for a nectarine.
Yeah, but I'd say so at least. Yeah, I think flavor wise it's pretty subtle, like, but in a good way.
Yeah, sorry, I'm gonna take my time for this.
Yeah, no, for sure. But this one is, as I said, it's pretty. I think it's pretty balanced. It's pretty soft. Obviously, it's been aged for 14 years. Maybe was it?
I believe this is just a 10-year.
Is this just a 10-year? It doesn't say on it, so we're just gonna. I think we can. Yeah, I think we can assume this is closer to a 10-year. It's but this is really beautiful for me. Like
it has the acidity, it has the softness, it has the sweetness in every way. If you would have told me I would have a glass of basic Scotch with a sip of Sauterne added, I might just believe you. But it is balanced. All the flavors are incorporated in the Scotch perfectly.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I mean, there is a reason why you were looking forward, obviously.
Oh
to
yeah,
this
of course. But
yeah.
it has so stood up to the expectations.
Yeah. So that was gonna be my next question. Like,
Oh yeah.
if you would have to pick any of these 4.
Everyone's going home with me.
Yeah, and I think that's.
Wow.
As I said, there is a reason that they have these drinks in a certain order.
Yeah.
And I think with every step of the way, it just got a little bit better. And that is obviously 10, 12, 14. And this is not even...
Special red
Yeah.
cask finish, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that really goes a long way. So if you'd have to have a bottle at home out of these 4, I'd say...
Well, no.
No? Okay.
Yes, I would have it.
Yes.
And maybe you would have it. But... and a lover of fine scotches
Yes.
might prefer this one.
Yeah.
But over the whole,
In general, yeah.
this is the more complex scotch.
Okay.
It's I think a bit
So the
harsher.
14. The 14.
The 14-year-old
Yeah.
with the port finish.
Okay.
The sherry cask finish has a bit more of the sweetness in it,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, true. This is this was definitely a little bit on the sweeter side.
Yeah. So, yeah, we would love this one.
Yeah.
For sure. So send us a bottle, please. Thank you. But I think if you want to recommend something to the people at home,
Yeah.
you would want to say, hey, pick the one you think you would like most.
Yeah.
Instead of the one you think we would like most.
Yeah. Obviously, everyone's palate is different, and everyone has their own way of what they enjoy. I think in general, if you do like Scotch and if you do like single malt for that matter, because obviously these are all single malts, I think any one of these are really good. As you can see,
Yeah.
I think Jan is almost about to collapse every sip he takes here. So I think that really proves a point. One thing as well, obviously you can do while sipping these or while tasting these. We now have a full carafe of water here and we're doing full sips. What you can also do is have just like 1 drop of water in there. That really tends to release a lot of the flavors and a lot of the smell that helps you get to that. To get to the full expression of all of it. I mean, we didn't choose to do that, but I think we wanted to just get the pure expression of the whiskey that we have in front of us, and yeah, I think either way, however you chose to do it, I think these are all great whiskeys, one by one, and I think for us, we both. I never had Glenmorangie before. I think,
Me either.
Yeah, same. So I think they have at least 2 new customers in that way.
For sure.
And I hope you guys learned anything from this video. And as we said, we tried something new. Obviously, normally it's just me on video, but as one of my mentors once said, it's always good, especially, and this is related obviously to cocktails. Once you're making new cocktails, it's always good to have a second person tasting with you, because it just gives you a different insight that you might not have once you're tasting by yourself, because you obviously have a preconception about what you're tasting. In this way, it might be a little bit different, but I still took that to heart, and I figured it'd be time to have Jan on the video here as well. So please let us know what you think of the video. Obviously, it's a little bit longer than any of the other videos that I've done so far. Also, let us know what you think of that, because I mean, we might just be rambling a lot, and you're like, okay, whatever. But apart from that, thank you guys for being here. We said it multiple times already. Make sure to leave a comment on the video. What do you think? Things we can improve. And otherwise, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And apart from that, I guess I'll see you guys on our next tasting or on our next video. See ya.